Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. Many years ago, when I took my comprehensive exams, um, your comprehensive exams, when you're going for an advanced degree, a doctoral degree, you have to take a comprehensive exam. So it's comprehensive of all the knowledge in that field of study. For me, it was sociology and stratification. So in that field of study, all the knowledge from the beginning of the knowledge up until that present day, it's comprehensive so that knowledge builds on itself. One study looks at the next study, and one theory builds on the last theory, so it's comprehensive. And in our department at Kent State University, you're given a choice. You can take them at home for 5 days with every book that's available to you, all of the books that you have, you can use. Or you do them in house for 3 days with no materials, no books, no journals, no articles, just you and your brain and your pen. So it was time for me to take my comps, and other people in my department were taking their comps. And it was kind of a known thing in our department that no one passed the first time. It was like the jump in the movie The Matrix. Nobody does it the first time around. So, but I prepared and I planned on passing the first time around because I couldn't imagine doing this again. Everybody else that year that was taking them were all taking them at home. And they thought I was absolutely ridiculously mad to take them in house with no notes. The first day I came in and I laid out all of my pencils and my paper and was ready to work. I pulled out my giant elephant, these huge stuffed elephant slippers, and I put them on my feet because I wanted to be comfortable, but I wanted to remind myself every time I looked down and saw my feet to not take myself too seriously, and that this was ultimately a thing of joy that I was doing. That first day, that answer I poured into, and the first answer in the first morning of that day was 28 pages long. I wrote 28 pages straight, and I got up to take a break in between questions. And I walked in the hallway, and one of my professors said, "You're not taking this seriously enough." He had no idea of the anguish that was in my heart. I went to the door outside to get some crisp, cold air. It was cold, it was winter time, and I just got sick everywhere and was like, ooh, I didn't know I was holding all that in. And I went back inside and I looked down at my slippers and I just laughed to myself and said, ultimately, this is going to bring joy, and don't take yourself too seriously. The next day and the next day and the next day went like that, except the second day, a group of professors came to me when I first came in, and they went through my bags. And I said, "Oh, you guys didn't go through my bags yesterday." And one of my professors spoke up and said, "No, no one expects that you would cheat." But we looked at that first answer and we were like, how does she know all of this? So someone suggested that we check. I said, okay, I understand. Everybody else is taking them at home. And the next day, all the answers were getting longer and longer and longer. I had this brilliant professor, Elliot Rudwick, who told me to not just write the facts, but to tell a story. So I was telling a story, not just with the facts and the dates and the information. And I even knew statistical outcomes of studies, but I also colored it with what was happening in the time and what people wore and what the days were like. There was either a break in between, but there was a time between when all of the exams had to be graded. And my colleagues got their answers back, and they all let me know that they had failed and they had to take it again. But their advisors had let them know that, nobody passes the first time around. It's okay. You can take it again. They were a little bit upset, but they felt like they were all in good company. When I went to get my results, I stood in the door of my advisor and I was afraid to go in. And she looked up and said, "Bert, how do you think you did?" I was like, I failed. She said, "Come inside. Shut the door." And she said, "Why would you think that?" I said, "Everybody else failed." And she said, "Did you give it your heart and soul?" I said, "Yeah, but they did too." And she said, "Well, you passed. And there's no way we could have failed you. We wanted to because it's kind of what we do." And she said, there was just no way we could fail you. She said, your answers were brilliant and insightful, but your memory, you memorized facts and figures, but you housed them with the truth, within the truth. When I left and went up the hall and I saw my other colleagues and peers who had taken their exams, and they asked my results, and I was prepared to be happy and excited and elated and overjoyed, confident and beautiful, and I told them that I failed. I hid my light under a bushel, thinking that somehow it would allow them to feel okay about themselves. Hiding your joy, not celebrating your accomplishments, not being who you are and really shouting from the rooftops, I made it, doesn't help anybody else. We somehow have confused an overblown ego with a deflated one. And even though the results are same, we think too highly of ourselves. I was thinking too highly of myself, that somehow my light shining would diminish their light. That's not possible. People have to choose to compare themselves to somebody else. And I say too many times, curiosity didn't kill the cat. Comparison did. I wish I had that moment back, because not only would I have said, yes, I did it, I would have held up those slippers and said, and I did it in these. Be who you are. Shine brightly. It doesn't take away your light, as Marianne Williamson said, and Nelson Mandela quoted her in it. It doesn't do anything for somebody else for you to hide your light. When you shine, you give others permission to do the same. I love you.